Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to this YouTube exclusive review of Reach Wrestling's Unit 10 Night 1 from last Friday. Promised you guys that we would review it. We asked you, we took a poll, 85% of you said yes, so therefore the 85% of you who wanted it are going to get it. I am Aaron Nix, of course, host of WrestlePlug, owner of WrestlePlug. Just to let you guys know, we don't do things by half here, and we certainly don't bullshit our audience. We give honest opinions, and Reach Wrestling is no different. Obviously, we have a lot of love for everyone involved. We know quite a lot of the people personally. That being said, we give an honest review of everything that we've seen, and we will do so with this as well. So if you're looking for namby-pamby, positive opinions with absolutely no critiques whatsoever, this is the wrong place. So sling your feckin' hook. It's as simple as that, really. That being said, I am a huge fan of Reach Wrestling. I love everyone involved in Reach Wrestling, and I was very excited to see how this show would pan out. So let's get straight to it. One thing I wanted to mention was the aesthetics involved in this show. Now, obviously, they're filming from a warehouse. The idea is, of course, with social distancing going on, with coronavirus parameters and all the laws and everything that's going with that, it's very difficult to run shows. So this is actually a really cool idea. I have it on good authority that Rick Smith Photography was involved, and that showed really the quality of how it was filmed. Overall, I thought was excellent. A couple of nitpicks if I was personally running it, but at the same time, I'm also not a professional videographer, so I will always bow to Mr. Smith's knowledge, and I highly recommend you check out Rick Smith Photography, frankly, because he is one of the most talented mofos on the circuit. Incredible photographer, great videographer as well. I'm not sure if GB Bartlett was on the case, because I know that he has been abroad for some time, but Attitude Advisory Media as well is obviously something you want to be checking out, and we'll endeavour to provide both of those links in the description, along with everyone involved's social media, and you can always contact us and find anything you need via @WrestlePlug, or you can go to @Reach Wrestling, of course, on social media and check them out. And of course, you should be following the YouTube channel because it's free wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, and there isn't actually a great deal of free wrestling going on. Yeah, like I say, like the setup, like the cameras, the positioning, like the little audience as well. I'm assuming trainees or friends. Everyone was masked up. Everyone seemed to be, for the better part, socially distancing, which I appreciated as well. I don't know what the testing parameters are, because frankly that's none of my business. I'm sure that if you contact Jason or Grayson, who are obviously heavily involved in the day-to-day running of Reach Wrestling, they'll be happy to be transparent and probably give you the knowledge. So if anyone does have any kind of fears or any worries from that standpoint, it's not my department, that's theirs, so check them out. Like I say, I'm honest. Straight at the bat, we've got this little kind of backstage setup, which is cool. Really, it reminds me of that throwback, you know, that kind of, that NWA desk, that special curtain that you used to get, the advertising boards at the football. It's that kind of thing of like, this is where we see the talent kind of flex themselves from a creative standpoint before they go out there and do what they do in the ring for the masses. I don't know who brought their toddler to work. Some tiny ass kid was interviewing talent. He honestly looked like he was about to shit himself, frankly. If I'm being honest, no idea who the kid is. No offense or anything, lads, but what are you, like 12? Come on, man. That being said, what I love about this, they just open up things the way you would expect Reach to. Can we talk about how fucking amazing Vinny Clay is at talking? How good he is on the mic, his promo skills. Now obviously he's the manager for the Monsters of Men, which of course is Silverback and Redwood. Jesus Christ, what a pair. And obviously, you know, Joey's being interviewed by Max, I think his name was, the 12-year-old, which is just weird. And yeah, obviously he's, you know, hyping up the fact, hey, you know, I'm the big face, I'm the the Academy champion. And of course, Vinny Clay comes in, a shot, chastises him so beautifully. He's really flawless the way he speaks, Vinny Clay. Obviously, we've had him on the podcast. We've had a number of these guys on the podcast, including Joey. And Vinny just, I've got to be honest, he adds a lot of quality. And if I'm in charge of a wrestling company, particularly a smaller one, on the British independent scene, he is absolutely crucial to me. If you've got someone like Vinny Clay on board, he needs to be out there. He needs to be flexing himself consistently and making people. Obviously, he isn't Bobby the Brain Heenan, but he's, for me, the closest comparison. Like, if you want to compare big, obvious, generalised names to these talents, he's definitely the Heenan here. He's very talented, great talker, he can do incredible commentary, he can also be an incredible manager, and he helps get talents over as well. It's just somebody who gets the business. There's something really cool about Vinny Clay, and you can see where the professional acting has come from. So, yeah, brilliant stuff. And obviously I'll chat about him later as well because he's involved in the main event. But hype's the main event. That's great. Really cool stuff. Off we go. Great stuff. So get the toddler out of the way and let's get cracking with the wrestling. Now, the opening match, of course, is LA Taylor versus Echo Reed. Frankly, this could main event any show. We've had both ladies on the podcast. Oh, huge fan. Absolutely huge fan. To be honest, anyone who's listening to our podcast, and the majority listening right now, will know, what we think of these two women. They feel like megastars. In a way, I find it a little bit insulting that fans are sort of only just now saying, I've noticed on social media, people saying, oh, that LA Taylor could be a huge star. Come on. Literally, the first time you see her, you must know that somebody like that is going to be a huge star. But also Echo Reed. And this match was... it wasn't my personal favourite match, if I'm being honest. I thought it was an excellent match. No qualms with it, no faults with it. It wasn't my favourite match though, but of course wrestling's subjective, so boo fucking who. You'll get over it. If you're not a fan of my opinion, you have the right to click away from said page. But I still enjoyed the match. Well worked, heavy hitting. LA Taylor has such a physical presence. Echo Reed is so good at working from underneath that babyface position. Just worked, And it was very meat and potatoes. I really liked it. It was simple. It wasn't ridiculously over the top. It just works, doesn't it? There's not much else I can say about a match like that other than it just works. They're two people who clearly know what they're doing, who have worked incredibly hard. They both look fantastic. They've got such a superstar appeal to them. There's one thing I can really say about a lot of the guys and girls down at Reach, and obviously I'm assuming that Jason in particular has instilled this in them because he's very much about the pizzazz and the flash of wrestling. They all look so professional. They've got great ring gear. They present themselves properly. I like it. I really like it. And every single person's character comes through in the way they present themselves as well, which I think is really good. If I had to nitpick this match, I would have liked to have had a little bit more in-ring shit-talking, particularly from LA Taylor, because she's just such an incredible presence and, just a powerhouse, real physical specimen. You want to really sort of see her dominate and enforce her capabilities verbally as well, just that extra bit of psychology. That's just for me, as always. Being subjective and everything, but from my personal opinion, I feel like she could talk a lot more. And someone like Kevin Owens is a really good example. If you're looking for someone from a female side, Shayna Baszler, someone who is very serious and a real specimen and a real powerhouse and a real wrecking machine, but also somebody who can put down her opponent verbally as well. And I always think that's really cool as well. If you want a really good example of that, Jason King's match. He was absolutely phenomenal at that later on. That was definitely one of the highlights of the show for me. But excellent match nonetheless. Can't really complain. Cracking on with things. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Jason King's backstage with Max. The one thing I really liked about this was the fact that Jason just shit on it. It was like, yeah, you remind me of the dog. Hop along now, which is good because, come on. I don't want to bury the poor lad, but no, doesn't work for me. Sorry. But yeah, Jason King, the one thing you can rely on him is to talk well. And he's hyping the fact that there is this Eddie Ryan rivalry going on. For people who maybe didn't see, obviously, he essentially turned on Eddie Ryan, cost him, the title, and helped Charlie Sterling with his cash in at the last big show. So, new champion and everything. Eddie Ryan, obviously, it's a kind of cool storyline. It's very simple as well. That big baby face who just, every time you think he's got it, it gets snatched away from him. It works well. Very, it's got a real essence of Daniel Bryan, going into WrestleMania 30, where they just kept stitching him, and then eventually, you just couldn't deny him. And Jason King's going for, obviously, a little bit more of a, he's no longer the best man. He's the Cinderella man. He's going for a more heel persona, but with a more serious edge. You know, I don't hate it personally. Actually, I think it's all right. I think it's quite cool. One thing I like about Jason is his promo ability, and he can sell his character very well in the in-ring talking. His match with Lucky, I haven't had a chance to see Lucky before. I actually really like the look of Lucky. You know, he's got a really good look about him, a little bit kind of rough around the edges, and I like that. I don't like my wrestlers to be too pristine and too shiny, unless it's like, you know, someone who's a Leviathan like Joel Redman or something, but I like my wrestlers to be a bit more edgy, and Lucky's got a great look. I actually thought this match was quite good. A few people have said to me that they weren't fans of it, or that they felt that it was a bit meh. I actually really liked it. Like I say, some of the old school stuff that Jason King was actually doing, people will know I like to give Jason a real ripping on the podcast, but I will give him a lot of credit, particularly here. I love his old school demeanour and the old school stuff that he's doing, particularly in this match. One point, he did this beautiful face wash, this kind of like indignant, you know, wipe of the feet across his face, you know, a real kind of obnoxious sort of face wash, and it was just done so smoothly, and it felt legitimate. And that was something that I really appreciated. And he did a lot of little things like this. One thing that I really enjoyed as well, when he went for a pinfall, he pulled the arm over the neck area, you know, making it far more difficult, meaning that he was forced to kick out with the other arm, you know, to push the shoulder up. Those little things are lost, particularly in mainstream wrestling. You're not going to see stuff like that very often when you watch WWE or AEW. So the fact that you're getting to see it on YouTube for a British independent scene like this, that's very cool. I really like that, and I like the little things. The little details make for an excellent contest. And that's one thing that Jason King has always done so well, is the little details. Really appreciate that. Good match. Obviously, Jason gets the win. I forgot to mention as well, Echo Reed going over LA Taylor earlier, which was actually a bit of a shock. I was a little bit surprised. I thought they were going to build LA Taylor again, but, you know, Echo gets the win, and that's no bad thing, to be honest. But yeah, Jason King picks up the win here, obviously building towards that rivalry with Eddie Ryan, that next collision, and interesting to see where it goes. I have faith in someone like Jason to be able to really help build a storyline. I remember the work he did with Vinnie Clay in Cornish Pro Wrestling, that incredible promo that was cut as well, Bob in jail. There's just a really good energy about everything that he is in and around. Man, that's something that I'm always going to appreciate and show a bit of love for. So, yeah, King gets the win with the crown jewels. Jordan Sparks is somebody that they had hyped. This was kind of like Jordan's debut, I believe. Tagging with Amadeus versus two guys I know quite well, Blake Harrison and Xander Gray. Really excited to see Xander Gray, because I feel that he is still, despite his quality and despite being very popular, to be fair, and rightfully so, he's a lovely guy. Kayfabe Shatterer, sorry. I'm a little bit surprised that Xander Gray hasn't kind of broken out a little bit more. I don't know why that is. It's not for me to say. I don't think I've ever seen him with such long hair, looking ridiculously handsome. Fair play, mate. Blake Harrison's gone for a singlet look now. My only criticism of this tag team match, because I love tag team wrestling, was how different the partners looked from each other. It was kind of very wishy-washy. So Blake Harrison's got a singlet on, looking like a very good amateur style wrestler. One thing I really like about Blake Harrison, by the way, is he's quite happy playing the dickhead, because probably is a bit of a dickhead. I think Blake probably appreciates that a little bit. He enjoys being a heel. He enjoys being a bit of an arsehole in life and in wrestling. And it seems, very much you want art to imitate life and vice versa. Well, he does that pretty well. But like I say, visually a bit strange. I love Xander Gray, I do. And if you listen to this, mate, you know how much I love you. But the shirt and jeans thing didn't work for me. Don't get me wrong, you looked great if you were going out for a night on the town, but I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea, but hey, some people like it, some people don't. That's the idea of subjectiveness. Jordan Sparks and Amadeus, clearly good workers. Obviously, I don't want to shit on them too much. I thought Jordan Sparks in particular, great debut. Like the gimmick, like the name. They look too forgettable. That's not me being cruel. Well, maybe it is. Fuck it. It's an opinion. You don't have to like it. For me, they look very basic, very plain. And they didn't stand out enough for me. And the moments when they did was more so because I think Blake and Xander, who have already got more of a character, more of a presence, really kind of helped carry them along a bit. Amadeus and Jordan Sparks, great in-ring workers. All four guys work fantastically in the ring. I like my tag teams to look like tag teams. So that's just my personal preference. And that's why the image and everything kind of ties in for me. For a good example, FTR from AEW, the Revival or Theatre Revolution, whatever you want to call them. The Usos as well. New Day. These are all tag teams that, even if the individuals don't necessarily look like each other, there's a real continuity and a real kind of fluidity about how they present themselves. They just feel like two individuals working as one engineered cog in a mechanism that's so fluid. That's what I love about tag team wrestling. And if you go back and look at any great tag team, they all do that. They all feel so fluid. So, in-ring wise, work was fine, but image-wise, left a lot to be desired from me. That being said, the heels going over is absolutely fine. Nice to see Blake get a win. Love that hammerlock DDT. Big fan of that. Really appreciate that. I think Andrade uses that. So, yeah. Also, he did a deep six. And deep six is like one of the coolest moves in wrestling. So, anyone who does a deep six needs a bit of credit. So, got to say, out of all of them, Blake Harrison stood out the most to me. And I know people are thinking, oh, he's going to rip the shit out of Blake Harrison because, there's Kayfabe Pete with a podcast and everything. But I actually thought out of the four of them, Blake stood out the most because he was the one who was willing to work hardest, character-wise and psychology-wise, to help everybody sort of get along and work together well. So that's just my opinion. That's what I saw with my own eyes. But it was by no means a bad match. None of these matches were bad. None of these matches were terrible. None of these matches pissed me off in any way. It's just that, to be honest, you guys should be flattered, really, because I'm digging deep for my nitpicks. These are all small things that can be rectified pretty easily. And I will say, it isn't lost on me, before you blow up my social media and attack my Facebook Messenger, which I'm sure a few of you will do, because you're a bunch of divas with massive egos, I am aware that this took place in your academy, and obviously, not all the talents on this show are just academy talent, so to speak. I'm sure, a lot of these guys have worked, main shows, but I am aware that they are still trainees, inverted commas, for the most part, and, obviously, I think to a man and woman, everybody did a fantastic job from that premise, and I'm not going to fucking give you too much grief because I know full well that I wouldn't be able to live up to that standard, not without months and months, if not years of training, as some of you guys have put in, and that shows. That does show, absolutely. So yeah, tag team win for them. Interesting to see when the tag team division goes, because it, not through no fault, through no fault of their own, has kind of been a bit difficult, and obviously we don't want to get into that, so they had to make some decisions. Max Wilson versus Joe Costa is something that really intrigued me, because amazingly, I haven't seen Max Wilson wrestle, and everybody I've spoken to, from the smallest to the biggest talents, anyone who knows this scene feels that Max Wilson is a huge star, and quite frankly, as soon as I started watching this, I felt the same. One of my biggest pet peeves in wrestling is guys who don't throw, or guys and girls who don't throw lines properly, clotheslines, when they just kind of give it the old wet noodle. Unacceptable. You should make it look like you're trying to decapitate the guy. There's no excuse. It's a clothesline, okay? It's not a super noodle. You're supposed to lay it in. Max Wilson immediately lays it in. Joe Costa, very springy, very elastic, moved around quite a lot. I really like Max Wilson's promo as well when he was talking about how, this guy's a powerlifter, not a wrestler. I'm a wrestler, mate. Look at me. I'm a proper athlete. Love that. Nice little kind of heel fare, but simple and effective. He looks good, just very polished, and his in-ring work is so smooth. I don't know specifically, but I'm told that Max went abroad, and obviously, I think it might have been the Lance Storm Academy, and that shows. That definitely shows. Obviously, you got Blake Harrison as well. He went to Black and Brave, and I'm sure he'll tell you if you ask him. But you got to respect anyone who's willing to go abroad to improve their craft. And to be honest, to be a world-class wrestler or to be the very best, you kind of have to. It's the first thing I was told when I started my fledgling training was, you got to go to as many places as possible to learn your craft, and that shows. Great match, very athletic. Like I say, Wilson comes very highly regarded. I thought Costa had really good energy as well, actually. He was somebody who jumped out to me, because when you first see him, you think, small guy, cool. There's a lot of those on the indies. But he could stand out really well. Great look, good looking lad. Very smooth. Really quite flawless, actually. Probably my favourite match, actually, if I'm being honest. At least from just an athletic wrestling standpoint, I thought these guys killed it. I'm huge on Max Wilson now, and I can see why people like Joel Redman and stuff have hyped him on our podcast. They have every right to. Really talented lad. He's got a huge future, and actually, I think Joe Costa's got a very exciting one as well. Yeah, loved it. Great energy. Max Wilson getting a win with the feet on the ropes. Proper classic. To be honest, Joe Costa was small enough that I didn't feel like he needed it. But that being said, it's very good for a heel, because it's like, wow, you're that much of a dick. You had to put your feet on the ropes for a smaller guy like him. So that premise works. Absolutely works. So no problems here from me. Yeah, great match. Josh Knott versus Grayson Reeves. I was so thrilled about this, because obviously Grayson has put in so much time, so much work, so much effort to get back in. Josh Knott is so good, man. So underrated, so underappreciated as well. One thing I really am not a fan of is this storyline with the tag team stuff. You almost kind of... So the idea is, right, that Josh Knott is supposed to be a heel. And we're supposed to think, no, he's just a whiny bitch. So he goes up to Grayson in this little backstage, which, by the way, I thought these guys did really well. Considering it's just kind of like a little throwaway segment, in their sort of warehouse/academy. And, Josh Knott's like, hey, where the fuck's my title shots? I didn't lose the tag team titles. Obviously, I don't want to delve into it, but, his partner had to kind of step away from the game for, obvious reasons, which, like I say, I don't need to go into, but that meant that the belts were essentially kind of dropped, and that meant that Josh not kind of, Josh suffered for other people's indiscretions, which is, difficult to comprehend. But from a storyline aspect, I feel sorry for Josh Knott's character, because, like you say, he didn't, he's basically telling the truth. I didn't lose my tag titles, and his character is very good at garnering heat. But like I say, it's hard not to have sympathy for him. He should theoretically still be a tag team champion, and in most of these positions, they probably would have given the belt to somebody else. It's not an easy position for anyone to be in. I think Reach have handled it fairly well, but from a storyline aspect, I would, I'd like to kind of see, I don't know, a little bit more from it. That's just my personal opinion. So, I'm never a fan of the belts just being removed, and then it's like, oh, if you can impress me and get a win over me, then maybe I'll consider giving you another tag title shot. It's like, well, why should you be the benchmark? From a kayfabe standpoint, not my cup of tea. Match was great, though. Really appreciated that. Great to see Grayson in the ring again. Again, Josh not losing doesn't really do anything for me personally, because I think, right, well, I guess if you want to try and keep him away from the tag team division or push him back into singles realms and things like that, that's fine. But I don't know. I mean, I don't really mind. Like, I'm kind of indifferent. Grayson winning is a nice feel-good moment. I personally, if I was in charge, I would have had Grayson wrestle somebody else, in his comeback match. To really sort of beef it up, or maybe have him just, destroy a jobber or whatever. That's just my opinion. Like I say, nonetheless, it's always great to see the guys wrestle, and it's particularly exciting to see Grayson back in a ring, because his injury was not something that a lot of people come back from as easily, and you can tell that he's put in a lot of work. He's in great shape, and I love me some B-Tech Chris Hero, man. Always got time for that. So, good match. Grayson Reeves going over is never a bad thing, to be fair. So, all my complaints aside, really nice. Oh, and also, by the way, Grayson, your selling of the leg, mate, is fucking phenomenal. Honestly, I want to take that tape and show it to some cretins in higher fucking regard. I've gone to so many different shows. I've worked on different shows. Nothing infuriates me more when somebody's working the leg, selling the fact that their leg is injured, and then quite literally just like burst into like a sprint or whatever. Even when he was running, even when he was, taking moves or administering moves, there was always a favouring of the leg. Everything, every time, he never let go of that. And I really fucking love that, because even someone like Seth Rollins, who for some inexplicable reason spends literally half of his career selling his knee, even he will just totally forget about it and then just do some sort of weird vaulting thing on his legs, and you just think, right, okay, so we selling that when it suits? No, you sell it throughout. Great fucking stuff. Sorry, you know me, I'm a stickler for the little things. I really fucking appreciate that. I've got a lot of time for that. So yeah, always something I was going to be excited about. And of course, finally, we come to the main event, Joey 7 versus the Silverback. Yes, I do have a soft spot for the Silverback. I've had the pleasure of, competing, or well, not competing, but participating in a seminar which he was at as well, and just I don't think people appreciate just how much of a fucking man mountain these boys are. Redwood, he's bigger, but he's a little bit leaner, dare I say. Silverback is, I love a hoss, mate. I'm all about the hoss life. These boys are wrecking machines. Very excited. And when you got Vinny Clay in your corner, easily, with PJ Jones not around, at least for now, I'm very excited to see if they're going to be getting use out of him going forward. Him and Vinny Clay are easily the best two talkers in this company, for my money. I think they're fantastic. And Vinny Clay being in the corner of guys like Silverback and Redwood, he's only going to help increase them. And there's a multitude of podcasts you can check out. We've had Vinny Clay on the podcast. Like I say, we've had Joey 7. We've had so many individuals, PJ Jones in a special two-parter, and all of those guys have contributed and talked about things that you get to now see via their shows on YouTube and everything that goes with it. And one thing that really excites me about this tag team combination is the fact they got Vinny Clay in their corner. I feel like that's invaluable. It's almost kind of like Zelina Vega whenever she works alongside somebody. I'm not saying you're a woman, Vinny, settle down. Or Paul Heyman is another good example of that. Whoever you put Vinny Clay with is instantaneously going to be more effective, because the mouthpiece is there to sell the show, to sell the entity, to sell the product. Absolutely phenomenal. It's the reason why he's a jack of all trades and a master of a lot of them too. Full credit to him. And the presence of this was great. I was really excited about this because Joey 7 hasn't really had the opportunity to face an out-and-out monster, so to speak. Joey's no small lads. Don't be fooled. Even in the square-up, you could see, height-wise, not too dissimilar. But he just fills a room, Silverback. That's what I love about him. As soon as he walks out, you're like, fucking hell, you're taken aback by that. And that is something that not everybody has. You can teach so much in wrestling, but you can't teach that kind of size. That's just kind of a genetic gift, you lucky bastard. I've always said that if I get a crack to wrestle again, I'd like him to kind of retire me. I think it'd be really cool if Silverback just fucking destroyed me in like 5 minutes or whatever. It'd be great fun. But I was excited about this because I love Joey 7. He's clearly the benchmark for how everybody should not only behave, but also the way you conduct yourself, the way you perform. If I can take it away from the storyline for just a moment, there's been a lot of issues involving speaking out. And a lot of people that myself and others considered heroes, friends, things like that, have really let down this business, have really let down humanity as a whole, frankly. And it is so fucking disappointing that wrestling can't consider itself a safe space. If there's one thing I can pretty much lay my hat on, it's that Reach Wrestling is a safe space. They conduct themselves properly. Their women's division is not only incredibly talented, but they're also incredibly empowering and individual and independent. And I have no doubt that at any point, if there was any kind of ill repute or ill manner involved in that company, that those women would have no problem speaking about it. Absolutely no problem. That is not a place, and I'm told by so many people how incredibly passionate Jason and Grayson are about kind of, creating and cultivating a family atmosphere. And when I see guys like Joey 7, and Silverback, Vinny Clay, Jason King, and so many others, I think it's time that we actually make a conscientious effort to celebrate these guys more. And especially someone like Joey 7. And people are going to laugh and be like, oh, he's got a hard on for Joey 7 again and whatever. How can you not be impressed by the way he carries himself, the professionalism, the class, the dignity, and the honesty about who he is? That is the kind of person that we should celebrate in wrestling. How about we shift a load of garbage out? How about we leave that shit in the past, okay? And we start putting all that energy that we're throwing into hatred of others into celebrating great wrestlers. Not only that, also really celebrating the fact that Reach has an incredible crop of women's wrestlers. You didn't get to see Adira on this show. Whew, man, love me some Adira. Vicious. That's my kind of wrestler. Absolutely world class at what she does. Great character as well. Carries herself really well. You didn't get to see Aurora. You know, beautiful wrestler, physically and athletically. You know, there's a lot of people to come. I believe Ruby as well. I'm hoping that we might get to see Ruby as well. She seems like a very cool asset as well. You know, all of their women provide something different, and it's the same with the men as well. But it's so cool to know that the women are on a par. And we'll discuss that in a moment as well, because obviously next week's match, which I'm assuming will be the main event, because it looks like an absolute banger has been announced. But let's talk about Joey 7 and Silverback. Really curious to see how this match was going to go down, because I've not seen Joey 7, you know, completely swarmed like this before. You know, Joey, the idea is that Joey's kind of like their Superman, and in comes this berserker. Never mind gorilla, Silverback is an ape. Never mind gorillas, apes, mate, apes, that's what you want. He's a monster. Do you know what? I really want to see Silverback. If they do any more Planet of the Apes films, mate, you got to be casting that. He's got such a good look, man. I warned you we were going to hype the Silverback, and it's not just because I consider him a friend, it's because he's fucking good. And Joey 7's amazing too. He had Redwood prowling on the outside like some kind of, you know, animal just kind of waiting for his prey, you know, just waiting for an opening, an opportunity. And then you got Vinny Clay just talking his arse off and just being that obnoxious shitbag and doing it so well, and, you know, even jarring with the audience back and forth, that kind of stuff. They set the table really nicely. Joey, you know, it was really cool because he almost presented himself like he was in over his head. And, you know, the majority of the match was Silverback beating him down. And can I just say as well, thank you for not fucking blasting through this like typical indie matches. Everything just took time and was relaxed. None of these matches, you felt like people were just going a bit crazy and rushing through their stuff. Probably the only person I felt probably did that a little bit was Lucky against Jason King. I do remember during that match thinking, oh, slow down a bit, mate. Like, you're missing a couple of the moves, or it looks like you're kind of not making as much contact as you should. That's just me, again, small nitpicks, but overall, I thought the pacing was great, and this match was a fine example of that. This is what you want from your main event, and it's so... Do you know what? Wrestling can be so easy sometimes. So simple. You got your Superman, plucky babyface champion, and on the other side, this evil, monstrous berserker who will... Surely he's going to crush everyone's hero. And that's it. That's all you need. And a couple of obnoxious shitters at ringside. It doesn't have to be anything else. It doesn't have to be over the top. Sometimes an audience is invested in something as simple as a hero and a villain. And you got that here. I like the way Silverback works. I like his pacing. I like the way he stalks around the ring. Dare I say, he could lay his shit in slightly more. That's not to say you're allowed to do that to me, by the way. If we bump into each other on training order, you probably will anyway, and I'll just have to take it, and I do kind of like a little bit of the pain, it has to be said. But, yeah, I honestly thought he could have laid in some stuff a little bit more, but you got to look after the cash cow that is Joey 7. He is the man, he is the champion, and he will really take this company places. I'm being slightly facetious, but honestly, he is genuinely fantastic. All of the people involved here were... And I like the aura of this because it just, every time it looked like Joey was going to kind of regain something from it, all of a sudden, boom, you know, he'd just get leveled with a move. You know, he'd throw a punch, and then Silverback was like, sit the fuck down. I really enjoyed that. I really liked that. The end of the match, obviously... it's almost like Joey 7 can't be put away. Vinny Clay's frustrations boil over. He gets in the ring, he uses that crutch, and he just blindsides Joey 7, causing a disqualification. Smart move. I assume to try and protect Silverback's undefeated record and obviously keep him as the monster. But obviously you can't really have Joey 7 just dropping the belt or whatever. Like, you know, I'm just delving in, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but I actually understood that finish. I can get a little bit annoyed sometimes with shady DQ finishes, particularly in your big matches, but for me, I thought this was a very smart decision. I thought Vinny Clay was fantastic afterwards as well. I think if I had to pick MVPs from the night, definitely Max Wilson in ring, Vinny Clay outside of the ring, entertainment-wise. Just great. Very little, actually, that I could nitpick about this show. Like I say, not a fan of the backstage interviewer. Not because I'm sure he doesn't have talent or anything, but he just looked really out of place and very, very small. Maybe that's the gimmick. Maybe I'm missing that, but that's not my cup of tea, personally. But I really liked it. Really, really liked it. And also, credit to all the people who were in there wearing their masks, because they were very vocal and made it feel like, you know, it had some sort of audience, like it had some sort of grandeur. And that's really difficult when there's not that many of you. So, you know, credit to everyone involved. And also, especially everyone who's put this together. Because in this climate, it's not easy, you know, to continue training and stuff like that. Should give a shout out, of course, to the referees as well. Particularly noticed one Mr. Gilbert, who is apparently a real man's man. I look forward to seeing whether that is true and to the case or not, but I thought the referees did a pretty reasonable job, except for in the tag team match. I'm sorry to give you some shit, Wade. I think it was you who was the referee for the tag team match involving Blake Harrison and Xander Gray. You got absolutely schooled by the heels. They made you look like an absolute toolbox in that match. And yes, I know that's the point before all the fucking sparks come running. But yeah, it was almost a little bit too OTT for me. I was just sitting there going, come on, Wade. Come on. Do better, mate. By the way, fuck's sake, Cam. I love you, mate. I do. But you should have seen that belt shot coming a mile away. Come on. The shenanigans. Like, it's just... I do love the kind of slightly presented incompetence of the officials at Reach. It's quite funny. I always feel like you must have some in-joke going on, but just wanted to give a shout out to everyone, the referees, the people involved, the guys who, you know, on commentary as well. I thought commentary, did a pretty reasonable job. Yeah, not much you can say other than mission accomplished. Great stuff. Really, really cool to get some free wrestling as well, and free wrestling that's more close to home. Because, you know, I can watch AEW Dynamite, I can watch Raw, I can watch SmackDown and all that, and I do, and I enjoy it. But, you know, I love British independent wrestling. And I'll be honest with you, like a lot of people, I've become really disheartened and lost a lot of faith and passion in British independent wrestling. And this, it certainly didn't completely reignite my fire for it, because that's going to take a lot of rebuilding for everyone involved within the industry, outside of the industry. But it reminded me that there are still some really good people out there. And it reminded me once again of something that I always say when I cover these shows. And obviously Steve isn't here. You know, he's a father now. It's very difficult for Steve to dedicate any time to cover any of these shows, which is why I'm pretty much running solo for the majority of times, particularly when it comes to Brit Rest. But, you know, watching this did remind me so much that, you know, let's not completely bury Brit Rest and everyone within it. There are still some really good people working incredibly hard to entertain you and bring a quality product to you. And here's a fine example of that. Really looking forward to this Friday. Match they've announced right now, which I'm thinking will be the main event, is a intergender tag team match, which should be very exciting. Grayson Reeves tagging up with Echo Reed, which is so cool, because if for anyone who's watched the social media, there's that cool connection. It's almost like a big brother, little sister kind of thing. And they'll of course be taking on LA Taylor and Josh Knott, which is a wild combination. I really can't wait to see how that works. Want to see some backstage promo nonsense for you guys. But yeah, great stuff for each wrestler. Really appreciate it. Thank you for entertaining us. Like I say, you know, we don't bullshit. I offer my constructive criticisms, and obviously people don't have to pay attention to those whatsoever. But the fact that I'm sitting here reviewing this show at 4:40 in the morning while the American football is on in the background and my eyes are black as thunder tells you everything you need to know about how much I am dedicated towards, elevating British wrestling, shining a spotlight on things. And this was a show that deserved a review, and I'm happy to say that hopefully, unless there is a massive change in health and difficulties, I'll be covering every single one of these shows via our YouTube channel as a little bit of an exclusive review. So make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, comment if you like. If you've got any opinions that you want heard on the podcast, you want me to read out your thoughts of the show, don't hesitate to send them in at WrestlePlug. And of course, please check out all the wrestlers involved, their social media tags. Please check out Reach Wrestling as well, particularly their YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Some great content. It's not just these shows that are available. We've also got some great throwback matches from their past shows. And the guys who are in charge of their graphics and stuff, even though it's not me personally, as I know, they do a great job. It's very professional. It's very shiny. It's very good looking. It's everything you want. So, yeah. But like I say, please like, subscribe. If you like the artwork as well, that's done by me personally, Aaron Nix Design. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. If you want to check me out, that would be really cool. I'd love a follow or a like or whatever it may be, or a retweet. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the artwork that's gone along with this YouTube show, and hopefully you've enjoyed the review. Let us know if you want us to review more, because obviously if you're thinking, this guy's a bit of a bellend and I can't be bothered listening to him every week talk about Reach, gotta let me know. Because, obviously I don't want to put you guys through hell. But nonetheless, thank you very much for listening. We'll catch you very soon for more content from the WrestlePlug.